Welcome back to Scarlet and Maize. I'm Adam. This is Zach.
Hey.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Well, there's been some basketball additions, some football, Big Ten football news.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about football. Then we have a fun thing at the end. You'll have to wait and see about. But basketball, the teams are set. Unless there's a very late transfer, probably out, then we're set. But
Right.
Do you want to take Ohio State first?
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and predict the starting lineups. But first, I'm going to say that they brought in four stars from their freshman class, including another guy that was like not even ranked in the top 300 in the country. He's not included in the 4 stars, but
Right.
he was part of the class. And then they also brought in 3 transfers. Tanner Holden from Wright State, who averaged over 20 points a game. Isaac Likely, a point guard from Oklahoma State. And Sean McNeil, a guard from West Virginia. With that, I'm going to jump into predicting the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I think that it is likely that Isaac Likely starts at point guard to start the season. I do think that Thornton, who is a freshman, who's a number 43 player in this class, will challenge him for the starting job throughout the season. Then at shooting guard, I think Tanner Holden, who, like I said, averaged 20-plus points per game at Wright State this past year, will start at shooting guard. Then at the 3 will be Eugene Brown, who was in and out of the starting lineup this last year. I think he establishes himself as a starter this year and is a starter all season long. He shoots the ball really well, and he's an athlete too. And then at the 4, which is really more like, it's partly because they don't have the size that they did last year, I have Justice Suing, who really would start at the 3 if we had another big guy, but I think we'll go small and have Justice Suing at the 4. Then I think the most obvious one is Zed Key at center, because the only other center on the lineup, on the roster, is Felix Okpra, who is a freshman, and I don't think he'll beat out Zed Key to start the season.
Probably not.
I think Felix Okpra will get a lot of minutes just because there's not a lot of depth at that position, and Zed Key does get into foul trouble sometimes.
Especially when he's guarding someone like Hunter Dickinson. All right, so for Michigan, they brought in Jalen Llewellyn from Princeton. He's sort of a combo guard, but the expectation is he'll be the point guard because the only other point guard on the roster is Doug McDaniel, who's like 5'1" and 100 pounds. So, I mean, he's a little taller, but he's still real short. But they also brought in Joey Baker, who's a transfer from Duke. Basically a shooter, but he's coming off hip surgery. So he was not expected to be good on defense already. And then coming off hip surgery, really probably not.
Wow.
Then they added a late recruit, Yusuf Cayet from Lebanon, been playing in France. Sort of a big shooter. But he can also drive a little bit, I guess. I think of him sort of like light Franz Wagner. Probably won't be quite as good defensively, especially. But hopefully he can shoot a little more consistently than Franz did in Ann Arbor. We'll see. But predicting the starting 5, I got to start at the 5. You started with the point guard, but I got to start with Hunter Big Dickinson energy. Just because he's going to be the focal point. He's got to be potential All-American. Really, if this was 10 years ago, he'd have been in the NBA already. So
Yeah.
I'm just thankful the NBA has moved away from his archetype because I'm glad he's on Michigan.
Well, I think even NIL helps with that too.
Oh, definitely. I think it does.
Yeah. I mean, you got Shigwe from Kentucky coming back too, and what's his name from North Carolina? That with NIL, I doubt.
Yeah,
Without
Orlando.
NIL, I doubt that he came back.
He's friends with Dickinson.
Wow.
Baycott is. But number 4, I was going back and forth, Terrence Williams or Yusuf Cayet. I've seen some videos of Yusuf Cayet, but really he was under the radar because he wasn't sure if he was going to stay in Europe or come to the U.S. He came to the U.S., but I think that they're going to start Yusuf Cayet. Basically, T. Will can play the 4, he can play the 3, or if Yusuf Cayet came off the bench, he would probably just come in at the 4. So there's just a little versatility there. We'll see. I'm probably wrong. At the 3, I think Jet Howard. A lot of people have been saying he's underrated, even though he's rated real high. One sentiment I've heard is that Well, the last name on his jersey, he's going to get a lot of playing time. Jace Howard has hardly played, so we'll see. But I do think Jet is better, so I think he'll start at the 3. 2, Kobe Buffkin, and then Jalen Llewellyn, obviously starting at point guard. We'll see. There is a lot more shooting in this lineup than there was last year, which Phil Martelli said was a priority. Once Dickinson said he was coming back, he said we need to surround him with shooting. So they brought in Jalen Llewellyn, which kind of pushed out Frankie Collins, who couldn't shoot. So I think if Dickinson left, they would have tried harder to keep Frankie, but whatever. Cayet can shoot. Howard can shoot. Kobe can supposedly shoot. He didn't shoot well last year. Why I say supposedly. Jalen Llewellyn can shoot. Terrence Williams shot well on a small sample last year, but hopefully that improves with volume or stays the same with volume. But a lot more shooting potentially with Dickinson in the middle, so it'll be harder to double team him. Whatever. Football news. You really wanted to talk about the football recruiting rankings for some reason. What's up?
So Ohio State's gone back and forth the last few weeks with Notre Dame between the number 1 and the number 2 spot in the rankings. Currently, as we're recording, Ohio State is number 2 as of Notre Dame got a 5-star this morning. But Ohio State's brought in 2 5-stars so far, 11 4-stars, and a 3-star. So they've just been recruiting really well already this cycle. I also want to give a huge shout out to the greatest wide receivers coach of all time, Brian Hartline, who already brought in 3 top 10 wide receivers for this recruiting class, including 2 5-stars in Brennan Innes and Carnell Tate. I just think it's an incredible feat to come off of what happened in the NFL draft between Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams, all being developed by him, going 10th, 11th, and 12th in the NFL draft. Wide receivers, incredible. To then 3 days in a row to get top 10 wide receivers, all highly touted, like great wide receivers. People are even saying that the 4-star, I'm blanking on his name right now, that it might be even underrated, and he's the 9th ranked wide receiver.
It's crazy that Jameson Williams got drafted that high because he went to Ohio State.
I do think that Brian Hartline is a huge factor in why he developed as well as he did. He was at Alabama for 2 months before the season started and then balled out. Like, I doubt that those 2 months got him where he was. He also...
Oh, I disagree. I'm just joking. Michigan's doing good.
Yeah.
Look, they, under Harbaugh especially, start getting commitments later in the calendar year. They did just lose their top-rated recruit thus far, which sucks.
I do think...
I don't really know what else to say. Hopefully it picks up.
It's early in the cycle, but I will say that, the more recruits you get early on, the better, because...
They recruit.
Look at what Texas has done since they got Arch Manning. Yeah. They've added, 8 top 300 recruits, or something ridiculous.
JJ recruited for Michigan too.
Right.
Recruits recruit. And so
I think
the 5 3-stars Michigan have right now, even if they're underrated, they carry less weight than a JJ McCarthy type.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they get some momentum.
Yeah. They'll end up with a decent class still. I don't know if
it'll
be
super
top
early.
10.
I think they'll probably finish ahead of Michigan State, but like we've talked about before, Michigan State's not the measuring stick.
Do you want to
do a
bet on whether or not they'll finish higher than Michigan State?
Sure. Loser shaves their mustache. No?
You don't have a mustache.
Well.
All right. What are we gonna do? We'll figure something out. We'll bet.
Figure it out.
Michigan State. I think Michigan State will have a higher recruiting class than Michigan this year.
Okay. I bet you're wrong.
Only
because history, but...
Michigan State has dropped a decent amount since they started because I think they worked their way up to close to top 5 or maybe 5th at one point.
Part of that is they had a lot of guys signed up when other people didn't. So now that the big boys are
they have dropped down
commits
to
in.
The most recent I looked at the rankings, they were 16th. But
also, as the season starts, so we've talked about Notre Dame. They're definitely going to start off 0-1. They might get run off the field.
Yeah.
So
I'd be surprised if that game's within 2 touchdowns, but we'll talk about that when the time comes.
That's going to be the peak of Ohio State season. You're right. But USC and UCLA, there's multiple reports that they're going to join the Big Ten.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
That's just I saw that and I was like, is this real? And it was a credible source, and I was like, that is crazy. Like, literally, they're literally spanning. Rutgers plays an hour from New York City, so they're playing from New York City to L.A. Like, that is the United States. Like, people always say, New York to L.A., like, the opposite corners of the country.
Big stage.
Crazy. Like, I just want to know how they're going to do scheduling and stuff, because...
Here's how they're going to do scheduling, if history of Big Ten scheduling is any indication. Michigan is going to play at USC Michigan every year, and Ohio State's going to play, like, Indiana.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm worried about UCLA and USC schedule, because they're gonna play in the Midwest potentially 4 or 5 times a year,
right?
And then even especially basketball. I'm assuming this is for basketball too. Like,
yeah, it's got to be. That's rougher.
That's crazy.
Rougher travel.
Like, often you play Wednesday, Sunday, or ish. Like, you play a couple days a week, or Tuesday, Saturday. You know,
right?
And like, to have 2 games a week on the other side of the country seems crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at a school like USC or Ohio State, where you don't go to play school, you go to play sports, they'll probably just stay on the road. Or, like, it's good Michigan is still in the footprint because they actually care about academics to the detriment of their sports programs. Whatever.
How's
I think it's funny that if it feels like these conferences are evolving, obviously, but it's going to end up being basically like old. I know I'm saying the name wrong now, but like it's going to be like Pac-10, Big Ten, and then those are divisions, and then the champ. So it's basically going to be the Big Ten plays the Pac-10 for the conference championship in the Rose Bowl. This is all annoying to me, and it's all not all been led by the SEC, but lately by the SEC, and it's just like, can we just stop?
Yeah, I honestly don't know if this is good for the sport. It's
probably not good for basketball for sure.
Yeah.
It's annoying to me. It's like an arms race, and the SEC is trying to go ahead as if they don't have an advantage already with the playoff stuff. Like how they always get a benefit of the doubt in the rankings. It's annoying to me. I don't think I'll stop caring because I just care way more about college sports. But it is like annoying.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be less invested. It makes me want to care less, which isn't a fun.
Right. Feeling. Yeah, I just think. It's pretty crazy. Like, I feel like the way they had the conferences before Oklahoma and Texas announced they're joining the SEC, I was cool with that. Like, I know the SEC's been pretty dominant the last 15 years, but like that's how sports go. Like, at least football-wise, they've been dominant. That's how sports go. Like, it goes up and down, and it could have easily swung a different way at some point, but then now Oklahoma and Texas are running off to the SEC. I know it's all about money, but
yeah, well, it's
for
annoying.
The fans, it kind of sucks.
It definitely sucks. You wanted to talk about if the Michigan football basketball coach, Ohio State football basketball coach were Avengers, what would they be?
Yeah.
Who would they be, I should say. And we agreed on some of them.
Yeah.
Really, we came to a consensus, but Ryan Day is obviously the Scarlet Witch, because Scarlet, and he died recently.
Well, okay.
Right? I mean, by the hands of the good guys.
It was actually supposed to be Iron Man, because he has all the gadgets and
That's
stuff.
That's the one that we disagreed on.
And he's
born
rich.
On third.
Yeah, sure. And he built what he has in a cave, you know.
Mm-hmm. Columbus, I would definitely describe as a smelly, musky cave.
No, but the one we would pretty much agree on right away, at least I was pretty adamant about, was Chris Holtman. I think looks just like Hawkeye. So Chris Holtman is easily a Hawkeye, and I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah. Juwan Howard, the Hulk, because...
so
some rage.
When we initially talked about this, we talked about doing all the Big Ten coaches. Then that felt like a lot, so we decided to do the 4 coaches. But when we said the Hulk, I was like, wow, you could do Tom Izzo, you could do Brad Underwood from Illinois, you could do Juwan Howard, you could do a lot of basketball coaches as the Hulk. It seems like as a basketball coach, it's almost a prerequisite that you have a temper. But with the way Juwan Howard acted in the Wisconsin handshake line there, we had to go with Juwan Howard as the Hulk.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh, Captain America. Look, he's super patriotic.
Yeah.
He loves corny catchphrases, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm the one that said Captain America for Harbaugh, but it
Yeah.
really, like, I could see him wearing the outfit.
Yeah. Honestly,
Like in real life on a recruiting pitch. I could see him dressing up as Captain America.
I didn't love it at first just because I think Captain America is awesome. But the more we talked about it, I agreed. Yeah, it does seem a little bit like Jim Harbaugh, and definitely does seem like if he was going to put any superhero costume on a recruiting visit, it would be Captain America.
Yeah. I mean, I could also see him ripping his shirt off to try to be like the Hulk, but
Yeah.
maybe a few years ago, Jim Harbaugh. 2016 Jim Harbaugh.
I do also
that.
think that Captain America is probably the most likely of all the Avengers to pick his nose. That or the Hulk. So
Or the Hulk.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. With that, we're not sure when we're going to record again, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to definitely have to do a football preview podcast like we did at the start of last season.
Yeah.
But if there's another list that you want, if there's, I don't know, you want our opinion of something, let us know.
What you want us to do? What Stranger Things characters the coaches are?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or top 5 quarterbacks in the history of the
That's
Big
true.
Ten, or
We did running backs.
why most of them are from Ohio State.
Well, with that, how about the best fullbacks of the last 5 years? I like that. Of the Big Ten, they're all at Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, we're at Michigan. Whatever. With that, we'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, follow, share. Let us know what you want to see. But until then, go blue.
Go Buckeyes.